But you can see that the ice is released from the roof, and everywhere it came down made a nice little pile. And one of the things that we are glad of is that our lower slope roofs, which are the only ones that really had accumulation that stuck on them, because those upper roofs are pretty steep, but these lower slope roofs, they have ice and water shield to make sure that they don't have any backup that takes damage underneath there. But it was definitely the case that the snow and ice had built a little dam that went right over that rain, that screen that's in our gutters, and it took it a while to melt. Good morning, I'm Jeremy. Welcome to our farm, Cornucopia Orchards. Snow is all pretty much melted, ice is pretty much gone, and I didn't do too much damage with scraping the road. Right here, if you recall, way back in our videos, this left side here, not the right side, but the left side is where they cut through my roadway to install their wire for the telecoms for the neighbor. They had them come back and patch it, and they sure didn't leave much of a layer. Maybe 2 inches is all they put on. It should have been 4. Oh well. Didn't look like I grabbed that with the blade of my tractor, so not destroyed today at least. So here's a little new project I'm working on here. This is going to be what's going to get us the lift we need, or want, I should say, relative to our cabinet height and our countertop height. So we're going higher than standard. And you can actually see right here, there's the height of the cabinets with a standard cabinet, and there's the height of the countertop. And I had been looking at buying cabinets, and then I decided I was gonna have to build them. And then I decided, when I saw some cabinets that were a really, really good price, and I got an even better price with a quote from Lowe's, that's what I was gonna have to do. So they're standard 34.5s. So we need this to raise up the cabinets to the height that we want. And part of that's actually because it works really well as far as the spacing with having floor to ceiling cabinets, from the standpoint of we're gonna have a cabinet that's gonna be all the way to the top, right on the drywall, and then in some cases it'll be an upper and a medium height. At the range, that's gonna be 142 inch, and that comes down to here. And then this right here is the mark of the other cabinet height relative to the countertop. So pretty good space within the average range, but a little bit generous, which is nice for us because we're tall people. So what you're seeing there is essentially just 2x4s, and they are the straightest ones I could find. And I'm not securing them right now along the outsides, just along the center bracers essentially. And what that will give me the ability to do is basically just one truss head screw is what I'm doing. And that holds it well, but it doesn't hold it impossibly well. So I want to make sure that the cabinets go level to the wall, and that will allow me, if need be, to shim up to probably an 1/8. Probably won't take any more than that. They are holding it down, just not as much as if I had like a struck screw or like a fat, like broad head screw. So those are, I think, ideal for what we're doing right now. I can put the sheathing on top of there if I feel confident that the county's not gonna, need to see under there, which if I take a video and show them, they shouldn't have a problem. So the floor is gonna be somewhere in the realm of 3/4 or less. And so we're raising up these little under cabinet toe kick supply registers, the boots that I made. And they're gonna be flush to the floor or slightly higher than the floor, which is exactly what we want. Make it easy for us to get those, build. Essentially, I'll probably have to cut or build my own little register, which is fine. And then they stick up a little bit past the frame. That's not intentional. It's just a byproduct of, they're 3 1/4 and this is 3 1/2. And so you've got that little bit. So what I'm doing here is I'm just gonna omit the sheathing. And then I have these 2 perfect sized pieces here left over that are going to be backer for our cabinets. It's 3/4 ply, and for that I do trust those more, being able to secure them the way I'm going to secure them, than I would have the OSB. And the the only thing about these is I was only going to have two. And so then I went ahead and got one more sheet of this plywood. And then that way I should be able to make all of the backers I could possibly need, top and bottom. And I'll have probably a little bit of this plywood left over if I want to use it for anywhere else. One thing I haven't decided yet is whether I'm going to do a pocket screw solution to install these, or whether I will just let them into the wall, you know, not at a diagonal like you would have seen on an older house for structural support if you didn't have sheathing like this, structural sheathing on the outside of the house, but just from an interior standpoint as, you know, a more continuous, solid, and I think stronger support and solution. And the other news I wanted to share is that we ordered today. We put in our order for our cabinets, and I am so excited about that because it is going to save us just a ton of time. You know, I might have been able to build the cabinets to the same level of quality. This is, you know, all wood construction. It just needs assembled. And so essentially I guess sort of kind of building them, but I'm not going to have to try and do everything. It's already going to come pre-painted, and it's a good quality Sherwin-Williams paint. And they finish the sheathing off here in the United States, so it's a U.S. company, and that's pretty exciting. They get it from overseas, the material. It's a birch. So not the hardest wood, you know, and probably not as nice a wood as like a maple or something, but it's still going to be a solid wood construction, plywood and solid wood, and that's really exciting to us for the price we're getting it for. Like I couldn't be happier. I will be very excited to share with you guys once we get it and we start installing, you know, how that process goes, and you know, we'll deal more with that at that time. But I'm so very excited that we got the price we got on such hopefully very good cabinets. Little killdeer is making a nest somewhere right over here by the shop. Normally they're more field birds. But yeah, it's trying to convince me that it's hurt and I need to follow. So you can see a little white there, a little white there. And then down here, I went ahead and used the rest of the bottle all the way up. I did get behind there and give this a caulk seal before we went to the trouble of putting this on, at least on the outside wall. So now boys and I are getting ready to install these sheets of plywood onto the top of this. It's re-secured. I did go ahead and have them use the planer just to level those two pieces out. You can see the discolored board. You're swinging for the fences, kid. Hopefully I'm not the fence. So with that first section, obviously I didn't put any insulation in there. I realized if it was something I was passionate about, I could always drill a chuck hole and then fill it from the side before we finished, you know, the trim plate on the front, the kick plate for the cabinets. I don't think it's something I'm gonna worry about, simply because I don't have the insulation right now, and I really don't wanna go any further over budget on the insulation than I already have. And I don't think it's needed. So we're just gonna go with that plate as is. This guy, to be specific, he is right here at the corner, and so I gotta just, you know, set that in and temporarily and measure that out and get that cut.
Where does this go? Sorry, I don't know. I think it goes there. It doesn't go there. That's where the bulldozer goes. But I'm afraid you're using the bulldozer upside down. Why? So, let's use the bulldozer tracks and then push them right way around.
Had a little bit of work I had to do to get this one ready, and that entailed fixing this thing. Not allowed to have the plastic foil, and that's one of the last things I had not fixed. So I got this guy all gooped up with the appropriate duct sealant over on the inside as well, where I could reach on the outside. And then we got some fire block. I'll be right there, buddy.
Why this?
See that red stuff?
What is the red?
red stuff is fire block, and it's actually fire stop. So inspector for commercial applications had talked to me about this, and there's the foam that you can use, and it's just not rated for very much. This stuff, oh gosh. You. Oh my goodness, the kid's gonna get me one of these days. Ugh. This stuff is rated for 4 hours, so I put it into the holes as best I could, and then gave a nice thick topping. I don't cut typically my penetrations like more than an eighth extra on each side, and this stuff can bridge that. It's kind of thick and sandy, so I don't know exactly what it is.
What is this piece for?
Well, that piece is going to go right there.
Right here?
In the corner. You got it, just like that. Well, maybe the other way around, but nevertheless, pretty much that way. So now I got to get this secured, and then I'll be able to do the same thing on this side with the glue and put this piece on. Yes, buddy. And I've pre-cut all the holes here. Hopefully I'm right on where they're supposed to be. You know, got that funny shaped work around there. And I think somebody's done with me working today. Sometimes things go unexpectedly well. I did not expect that to go as well as it did. But now that it has, that's pretty exciting, because essentially, you know, that locks everything into place. It'll make a great base for this cabinet set on the back wall here. And man, I am relieved that it went as well as it did. And we'll be able to get that, you know, whenever we get to that point. I just got to get this screw down now and we're good. So, nice big mess I've made here. And I don't know whether I'll do this to the top or not. I think I probably will. Not as little amount of work as I thought it was going to be, but I think it's because maybe I'm using the wrong tools. Started the cuts, chop, chop, chop with a saw, hammered out a lot of little pucks that was made, and then finished with the oscillating multi-tool. I might switch things up next time. I don't know. We'll have to see. Basically, a lot of the chop, chop, chop pieces, I had to cut them super fine to where they wouldn't break off additional material out of the wood. Not that it was much, but it took more time than I wanted it to take. But this is what we're doing for the top of the cabinet, for the base cabinets. So this is an exterior wall that I am notching. However, I'm essentially replacing the board material with very little gap on either a vertical, end on each stud. That being said, there are strict rules around notching, and as an exterior load-bearing wall, I'm allowed quarter of the full depth of the board. These are 5.5s, probably shrunk to 5 3/8, as a lot of them do. I'm only taking out maybe 7/8 at most, 3/4, so far less than the quarter that I'm allowed. And while this doesn't do a whole lot as a stiffener, it will be a continuous backer for the cabinets to hang from, and I think that's probably worth it. Certainly, the goal by and large is to get some kind of a connection to the studs for your backer board, and then not rely on the drywall to, essentially the continuity of the drywall and the connection to that board behind it to just rip through with the cabinet. Most of your pressure is actually vertical on a cabinet because it's flush to the wall, and you're okay with screws holding up a cabinet. I've done cabinet screws every single time I've installed the cabinets, and never had a cabinet fall. Typically, I will just do 3 screws top, 1 or 2 screws bottom on an upper, and then usually I will only put in maybe 1 screw through the side on a bottom. I won't do anything additional down low. I'll just do the back top, and I've never had any issues. I will typically glue and connect in the, if I've got like a raise like this of any kind, even if it's just a 3/4, which is what I think we did on one of the previous houses, I will glue that raised piece to the toe kick of the cabinet. But other than that, nothing. So that's another way you can be doing this. You can put in pocket screws. This is kind of a mixed method. So this involved a lot less notching out of the boards, which is nice. But it's another method you can use to put in a board, is to just pocket screw either side. And I kind of like this mixed one for the simple fact that it's a lot easier to notch one board than it is 3, especially when there's electrical and stuff that's already up in the way. So that's still going to have an excellent hold and very strong. That's the top of the lower upper cabinets, and then you can see from the ceiling there to that mark, and then that's the bottom of the lower, or of the upper cabinets.
Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.